Yes. Poor Ben Roethlisberger, his retirement upstaged by other things on the Twitter. Hi, I'm Aaron Schatz. I'm the editor-in-chief of Football Outsiders, and I would like to welcome you to the Football Outsiders live stream for January 27th, 2022. Welcome to our NFL Conference Championship Round preview. I am joined by Mike Tanier, and our resident Bengals fan, Robert Weintraub, is here to celebrate the Bengals being in the AFC Championship game. We're also supposed to be joined by Vince, who will hopefully be coming along shortly to talk conference championships with us. Before we talk conference championships, we might as well hit on the news of the morning. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious if either of you have any opinion about either Nathaniel Hackett becoming the new head coach of the Denver Broncos or Matt Eberflus becoming the new head coach of the Chicago Bears.
I'll start with Eberflus. It seems like the Poles-Eberflus combination, that seems fine. That's good, solid. I like the hires. Yeah. I'm curious what's going on with the Colts at this point. They lose Eberflus this offseason. They lost Sirianni last offseason. How is that Frank Reich staff going to survive this brain drain? You know, when you're not a Super Bowl champion, losing your top coordinators, when you're like a borderline wildcard team losing your champions, your coordinators, that's a concern for a team that's trying to take the next level. That's the interesting element of the Eberflus hire to me.
Yeah, does that count as a Josh McDaniels coaching tree hire, Flus? I mean,
I guess technically it does.
It's going to be so much fun just to say his name, really. Both of them. Eberflus, ooh, that's a good one. And Nathaniel Hackett, Revolutionary War General Nathaniel Hackett. Yes. He was, Syracuse OC under Marone, and there was a lot of people who wanted him to get the job there, the head coaching job, take over it. But obviously he went to the NFL instead. I mean, I know everybody's talking about the idea that he's going to immediately just summon the Rodgers and Devontae Adams, or at least Rodgers anyway, combo to Denver, send up the smoke signals, and there they come. But who knows if that's really true? We'll see. Rodgers has so many things in his on his plate, so many misdirections, misinformations, and various other kind of prestidigitations, if you will. So I don't want to delve into that, but he seems like a solid hire. I did not want Denver to go the Dan Quinn route to replace Fangio with Dan Quinn. Seemed like a lateral move at best. So at least, somebody got in their ear and said, no, this is the way to go. Let's go offense and see if we can match the other potent offenses in the AFC West. So it seems like a good hire at least. And it's another coaching. Is that my phone? Sorry about that. Another coaching son that gets a gig, right? Hang on.
Rob's got another podcast to be on. I see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan Quinn is taking you're actually taking it on air. Come on, do it.
I was going to if it was important, but no, it's not.
Okay. Dan Quinn is taking the Dan Quinn route back to Dallas, it sounds like, by the way.
Yes, he is. And I think he has more chance of getting fired next year as DC of Dallas than he does getting a head coach.
Yeah, I was going to say it's interesting because of what we know about defense being inconsistent from year to year. This would have been the year for Dan Quinn to strike and get a head job.
Yeah.
Look, both of these guys seem like they've got good coordinator backgrounds, and we have absolutely no idea how much talent they have at the sort of CEO aspects of being head coaches.
Right.
We have no clue. There's nothing in their pasts that would give us any clue. So, in that way, they seem like fine hires. My big question is who comes to Chicago as the offensive coordinator, because there had been so much talk about get a offensive-minded head coach to work with Justin Fields. So now you have Eberflus. So now it's who's the offensive coordinator who will work with Justin Fields. And I don't remember who said this on Twitter, so I apologize, but somebody pointed out that often defensive-oriented head coaches hire conservative offensive coordinators who want to play conservative offense in order to win with running and defense.
Right.
Please do not do that, Chicago. Please do not saddle Justin Fields with a really conservative offensive coordinator who's not going to help him blossom.
Right. And I'm guessing because Eberflus was a McDaniels guy and then became a Reich guy, that he kind of understands the more open offensive systems, more pass oriented, a little more forward thinking. That's just an assumption based on, where he came from, though.
But I mean, I don't know. I thought Brian Daboll was an excellent candidate in Chicago. Now that he's not getting the job, I don't know who was quarterback's coach under Daboll in Buffalo, but that would seem to me to be a good candidate to be offensive coordinator in Chicago. I still feel like you want to try to do with Justin Fields what Buffalo has done with Josh Allen.
That quarterback's coach is either going to go with Daboll or replace Daboll if Daboll leaves.
Well, that's probably true.
Right? He's being talked about as the replacement. Yeah.
Right. It's Ken Dorsey, the old Miami quarterback.
Oh, that's the quarterback's coach in Buffalo. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. And there are a lot of rumors that, that he is at least partially, if not a lot more than that, responsible for the development of Josh Allen, and that Daboll will definitely be taking him with him, assuming he gets the coaching.
Either that or he'll replace Daboll. Yeah.
Right. One or the other. Depends on his aspirations, I suppose, or where he wants to live. New York City, a little bit better than Buffalo, perhaps, or the Meadowlands, I guess, if he goes to the Giants. That's the hot rumor, but we'll see if that comes true.
It's weird that hadn't happened yet, which makes me wonder if it's going to happen. Like,
yeah,
why don't you just roll in the machine,
Yeah, I tend to agree, although that's the case in so many cities that maybe it's just that's the way it is this year, and it's not like we shouldn't be reading too many tea leaves because everybody's doing so much due diligence, and there's so many candidates, whether they're really good candidates or not. You would have thought Daboll would have been hired by now for sure, though, and Wink Martindale, a lot of rumors that will come in as defensive coordinator if he gets hired in New York. So that would be interesting. We'll see. I was surprised he was fired by Baltimore for sure.
Right.
Still 7 openings. Joey Sucks says, guys, do you think that there might be some organizational problems with Jacksonville? I mean, I think Jacksonville, look, I don't know what the attraction of Trent Baalke is to Shahid Khan, but clearly what has been rumored is that Shahid Khan basically has to make a decision. Either he's got Baalke as his GM and needs to find another coach, or he can have the Leftwich and Adrian Wilson combination.
Yeah. I think
that's what's going around right now.
Yeah. I mean, just given Trent Baalke's history, I think what he does best is kind of suck up to ownership, right? I mean, that's what Shad Khan sees in him, is a guy who sort of do what he says and make him feel good about being Shad Khan, which I'm sure he feels pretty good about anyway on a day-to-day basis. But
I was going to say, I don't think Shad Khan needs a GM to puff up his ego. I think he needs a GM to win some football games.
Right.
Yeah. You would think that would boost ego, right? But
his ego should be fine. He owns like 50 million different things. We love you, Shad. Make a better decision, please.
Yes.
Money can't buy you love. Don't you know that?
So I mean, I would love to see them. I would love to see them go with the Wilson Leftwich combination. I think that would be exciting. It's got, it's a great storyline. Leftwich goes back to Jacksonville to resuscitate the team. I don't think there's any indication that Byron Leftwich is some kind of quarterback guru. I mean, he ran a good offense for Tom Brady for the last couple of years. Like that is not a sign that he can develop Trevor Lawrence. But he's pretty well acclaimed as a head coach and motivator of men, and that seems to all be very positive. So
Arians always gives him a ringing endorsement. He's been tutoring under Arians for a few years, so you'll be hoping to get that Arians type system if you bring in
having a guy that skill, Trevor Lawrence, meaning certainly is a good start in the right direction for him. I think it's interesting that Adrian Wilson
has this definitely no risk it, no biscuit, right? I mean, he's going to launch it downfield. That offense would be great. So
yeah, it is neat to see Adrian Wilson rise up in this level here.
Yeah, so quickly.
I thought he was still playing safety for the Cardinals. That was
seems like, right? He was on the cover of the F Almanac, I believe, at some point.
Yes, once upon a time we did. Adrian Wilson was one of our cover photos back when we had actual cover photos of actual players.
Yeah, exactly.
J
Molnar 94 says he also failed miserably in Arizona. Is that about
Rosen era?
Leftwich?
Yeah, that's about
Leftwich, the offensive coordinator in Arizona for Josh Rosen.
Yeah. It wasn't necessarily the best indicator of somebody's ability.
No.
Yeah.
But it's also not a point in the case. It's also not a point in the column of developer of young quarterbacks.
Right. But there are lost causes.
My chances with Lawrence over Josh Rosen, although as a Jew, I am certainly always behind Josh 1,000%. He was
recently the backup in Atlanta. We're fully behind you, Josh Rosen, Atlanta backup. All right, let's talk about some conference championships. We'll start with Cincinnati at Kansas City. Chiefs -7 is the line. But of course, this is not a guaranteed win for the Chiefs. Of course, we know because the Bengals have beaten them already just a couple of weeks ago. Although I will point out, the Bengals only had a 22% post-game win expectancy, according to DVOA, in that game, despite winning. They got a lot of good timing and a lot of penalties. Kansas City had a ton of penalties, 10 for 83 yards in that game. The Bengals were just 17th in regular season DVOA. If they win the Super Bowl, they will become the lowest team to ever win a Super Bowl. Thanks in part to that Week 18 game where they sat their starters, which knocked them below the 2007 Giants. They only beat one team in the regular season and postseason with a DVOA rank higher than 16th, and that team was the Kansas City Chiefs. So yeah. I don't know. Give me your first thoughts, Rob.
Well, boy, first I'm still in the afterglow of beating Tennessee, which I think most people didn't think that the Bengals could do, even though I came on the show and said we had the better quarterback. All I heard about was King Henry's coming back, and let us let us sit on the ground and tell sad stories about the death of kings and Richard II. Too much for King Henry. He didn't realize that DJ Reader was going to be all over him all day. And all I heard about was that Larry Ogunjobi's not playing. Okay, good player, but DJ Reader is the all-pro.
And the power of the bye week. You heard me talk about the power of the bye week, and if something did not seem very powerful, it was the power of the bye week. It did not seem very powerful at all.
Not when you throw an interception on the very first play of the game, that's for sure. Obviously, Tannehill did not have his best day. Mike Vrabel didn't have a great day as a head coach. As a defensive coordinator, he had an outstanding day. That was probably the best game plan against Cincinnati all season. They really, not just obviously the front line getting all kinds of pressure on Joe Burrow, but their coverages were, a myriad of different things that Burrow had not seen or was not expecting, and they changed it up a lot. And a lot of those sacks came from him having to pump and hold the ball a little bit longer than he wanted to, and took a hit as a result. But, the old Buddhist proverb, get knocked down 9 times, get up 10. And so he did that. And when he had an inch of daylight to make a game-winning play at the end, he did to Jamar Chase. They kicked the field goal and win. And here we are in the championship game against Kansas City. And like you said, it was January 2nd. It seems like yesterday when they played the Chiefs to win the division the first time. And, I think that did fall under – it's weird because in the moment, it didn't feel like a fortunate win exactly. It felt like, wow, Cincinnati just matched, kind of shotgun for shotgun with the best offensive team in football and the best quarterback in, over the last couple of years anyway. I went back and rewatched it, and yeah, there were some issues in the game that Cincinnati, you don't want to say they got lucky when you get penalties called. A lot of them were forced by the Bengals. There was definitely a key one right before halftime when Kansas City actually returned a kickoff for a touchdown and got called back by a holding penalty. That was, comme ci, comme ça. That might have been a bit lucky. The ones at the end of the game that everybody remembers when they were draining the clock, which is what Buffalo obviously didn't quite do last week against us. There was blatant holds in the end zone. I mean, that's why you go for it on 4th down, right? One of the possibilities is you get a penalty call and gives you a fresh set of downs, and it worked out for Cincinnati. I'm not assuming that it'll work out again. Certainly my initial instinct of the game is, boy, it's going to be tough to beat them for a second time within a month. It's always tough to beat Mahomes in the playoffs, as we know, as we just saw last week and have seen repeatedly over the past several seasons. And they're a great team. But, I sort of feel like the way they played and beat Tennessee, while probably not the way that it'll have any reflection on the game against Kansas City, is such a good sign in that they know they can win in a variety of ways, and they're not going to get down if and when they fall behind or some of their offensive plans don't work out the way they didn't against Tennessee. And here they are, in this postseason so far. I think the Bengals have had 22 drives and 3 touchdowns. And yet here they are in the championship game. And Kansas City has 23 drives and 11 touchdowns, I think it is. So all they have to do is find a way to narrow that gap just a little bit, stay in the game. They've proven they can beat the Chiefs. They're not afraid of them. they have a shot. They're 7-point underdogs for a reason, but I don't feel like it's an automatic, overmatch the way I kind of did the first time they played. I really didn't think they'd have a chance to beat them back on January 2nd, and yet they did, and they've surprised me all season. The reason they can't surprise me one more time.
Joey Sucks points out, Rob, you're dropping Shakespeare and Buddhist proverbs to describe the game. You've been holding those Buddhist proverbs and Shakespeare references about the Bengals for how long? 30 years?
30 years, just about, pretty much, I mean, when you have them built up inside you, it's like a volcano. It just explodes.
You've been waiting. You've been waiting. Right. Oh, well, metaphor, but still freezing.
I can go to you. Just let me know. Also, you get some Shinto proverbs, whatever you guys need. They've all been stored up for decades now.
I will say that I think it's unlikely that Jamar Chase takes over the game in the same way. Again, receivers just don't take over games like that more than once every 5 years. That was like a ridiculous game.
And just the way he did it too, where it's everything is a one-handed back of the end zone, tiptoeing the sidelines.
Like 3 guys missing a tackle on you.
Yeah.
He was unbelievably spectacular. Here's the one thing. A lot of that came because of Kansas City blitzing and leaving him one-on-one. Now, there's been a lot of talk before in the lead up to the game or this week that there's no way they're going to do that, and they're going to play like Tennessee did, which was, try and avoid blitzes, or the Raiders or any team would try and do, because Burrow and Chase are so effective against the blitz. However, if I may bring out yet another proverb, this one just coming to me, the scorpion and the frog, right? Does the true nature of Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator of Kansas City, is to blitz and blitz heavily and, bring guys from all angles and leave his corners one-on-one. Can he really resist that when the chips are down and Chase is out there just licking his chops to be one-on-one, or is he going to go and play zone and try to double him up and bracket him? I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting test of his sort of coaching DNA to see what he wants to do and whether or not breaking tendency means more to him than winning with what got him to the point where he is now.
I will say Scott got a stat from the SIS guys. The Chiefs blitzed the Bengals on 21% of Burrow's dropbacks in the first game, which is actually one of the lowest blitz rates for the Chiefs all year. So Spagnuolo was able to hold back a little bit the first time, but not hold back all the way. He still had to blitz one out of every 5 passes.
Yeah, the 3rd and 27 that ultimately really cost them the game. He came all out, and what they do, they just threw one right up that like they've been doing every time. All it takes is 2 or 3 key plays, and that's what it was. It was a bomb down the right sideline, and Chase just went over his man. I mean, he was covered. It was good coverage. Chiefs did what they wanted to do. Bengals just beat it. That's could be a case where Kansas City says, again, we're going to go with the same game plan and dare you to beat us again because it was so extraordinary, or maybe they'll change up and blitz. I just don't seem like I don't feel like he'll blitz any less than 20% or 21% in this game. It's just, just his nature is just what got him there, not even coached. And, it's too late to change your spots now.
Yeah, by the way, I have some data about when the Bengals only face 4 pass rushers, 3 or 4 pass rushers. So when they're facing 3 or 4 pass rushers, Bengals lead the league. They've allowed 42 sacks. That's the worst total in the league, 42 sacks allowed. Sack percentage, 8.3% when only facing 4 rushers. That's tied with the Bears. Holy cow, the Bears, for the worst sack percentage in the league. Now, their quarterback rating, and this is pretty much Burrow's quarterback rating, although there's a couple of the other guys in there, 104.2 for their rating. Now, we don't love rating. That's a very high rating against 4 rushers. Right. If we go to EPA, the Bengals are all the way down at 9.25 EPA. That's 11th in the league. Not terrible, but it creates this weird thing, and I think you talked about it yesterday, Aaron, where you rush them, and you get the sacks, and yet there's enough positive plays on the other end of it that it almost creates this sort of high volatility balance where
the Bengals are a very high volatility offense. Like you get these really big plays, all these really big downfield shots and yak plays, and then you get so many sacks and so many bad down and distance situations. So,
I mean, you saw it against Tennessee. They had 68 yards and sack losses on 9 sacks. but still 348 yards passing. I mean, it's not like they didn't, and they weren't even chucking too many of them deep. They didn't have that opportunity, but they still
16 points. You know,
16 points, yeah.
not a
and
lot
some of
of
those yards, to be fair, the passing yards were a bit of empty calories at the end of the first half when they just kind of got 50 or 60 yards, you know, of just last second plays that they didn't really have any impact on the game. But the point is, you know, they're quite used to playing behind the chains, as they say. And you saw Burrow's demeanor didn't change one bit every time he got sacked. It's like, all right, 2nd and 14, let's go ahead and make the first down anyway, or at least get a play that gets us in the position to get sacked again on 3rd down. So, you know, in terms of mentality, you know, a lot of what happened in Tennessee was communication issues. Like I say, Vrabel had a great game plan up front with twists and stunts and bringing guys from places where they weren't expected. It's not like it was just like a straight up man-to-man whipping every time. Jeffrey Simmons did have a couple of those, but mostly it was about scheme. So you like to think that, you know, some of that can be alleviated. And if they only get 5 sacks and only a handful of situations where they're deep behind the chains, then they have a great chance to get some of those explosive plays and alleviate whatever negativity they have again.
I'll also point out that a lot of pass rush means dump offs to running backs, and the Chiefs are 26th against running backs as receivers. They actually give up a lot of running back screens. The Bengals use a lot of running back screens. I like this game. Joe Mixon receiving props. I like it this game.
Yeah, do we have a number on that?
Working on it right now.
For best bets for ESPN, I did Joe Mixon's combined rushing and receiving, which was, I think, 89.5.
I don't know that they'll trust Samaje Perine again after. Well, I was just going to say they threw a screen to Samaje Perine, resulted in their only turnover like the last 6 weeks against Tennessee, although we know he didn't really catch that ball. Great job by Hooker to dive for it, but they left like a 3 or 4 inch divot on the grass. I would have thought that was not a clean catch, but anyway, I digress. I did see a stat where Mahomes is by far first in the league in passing yards of his own when, you know, it's behind the line of scrimmage. In other words,
he's number 1 in passing yards behind the line of scrimmage this year, which is that whole, like, if you're going to play cover 2 against me all the time, I am taking I'm taking what you give me.
I didn't get a chance to look up, but is that a sort of an adaptation on his part? Where was he in that stat? Do we know in the last couple of years when he wasn't?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to check out because there was a lot made of the way he sort of checked his game mid-year to, you know, adjust to not just cover 2, but just, you know, not trying to play hero ball, quote unquote, all the time, and, you know, throwing the ball at places where he has the open man and just take 5-yard gains and move on, you know. And it wasn't necessarily his identity before that. So it'd be interesting to see if, you know, that's just kind of like a national media thing, or is that actually something he did and in terms of the passing yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Flipping things around to the Chiefs offense, I will point out that they mostly used Chidobe Awuzie on Hill in the first game, and he only had 2 catches and 10 yards with Awuzie covering him. He had 6 for 40 overall. And they mostly defended Travis Kelce with the cornerback, and Kelce had a bad game. He only had like 25 yards in the game, although he had just come off the COVID list, so he was maybe
a little bit affected in that game for sure. But it was still a good job. It was Trey Flowers, who they picked up from Seattle after the Seahawks cut him, and they kind of picked him up specifically to do things like that, which was a big body on tight ends, where they've struggled so mightily over the years to guard tight ends with linebackers. And even safeties really are, you know, the way they align their defense was not conducive to getting the safety they wanted on a tight end, and they were getting burned over and over again. And finally, they said, well, here's Trey Flowers, who can run like a corner, big body, like a safety or a linebacker, and can tackle. And he's done a good job in doing that in specific matchups. You saw him this past Saturday, made a couple of big plays, both on defense and special teams. So, you know, he's a small little addition, but you know, a chess piece that works in certain matchups, and I think we'll definitely see that again. Now the Chiefs will probably adjust to that as well, and they may do some things to work Kelce open, but that definitely was a factor in the first game.
Right.
Do you have any interesting props, Mike? You want
props? Let's go with the props here.
Prop me up.
Prop you up. I don't like this one. Chase, Higgins, and Boyd to each have 50+ receiving yards at +330.
All 3, you mean?
Yeah,
It's unusual that all three got them.
Usually one of them is low.
Yeah. Scratch it. Okay. This one's interesting. Mahomes and Burrow combined for 600 plus passing yards, plus 150. I don't think that's enough meat on the bone.
What was the odds? Plus what?
Mahomes and Burrow combined 600 plus passing yards at just plus 150, though.
I don't know. Our projection is like 300 for Mahomes and like 280 for Burrow. I might go with that.
Okay.
Mahomes was under that in the first game. I mean, I think they're going to want to try and move the ball on the ground and do it in a different way than just get straight ahead like Tennessee did. They had a good rushing attack in the first game, and they were pretty balanced. I can see them wanting to do that again. And after what Mahomes did last week, the whole world is going to be like, oh, he's just going to chuck it over the yard. That's a good time to kind of zag, I guess, and try and run it a little bit more. I can see him. It's tough though, but you can see him going under 300 as the game progresses, but then he makes one big play and there it is. He's up, and same holds true for Burrow too. So it'll be close, but I can see that going under closely.
Yeah,
but I can see it.
Yeah, I'm avoiding that one personally. We like or bets, Travis Kelce or Jamar to have 125 plus receiving yards at plus 200. So you get Chase or Kelce. I think it's pretty much just Chase, but 125 plus at plus 200.
So tricky because it doesn't even feel like Chase has had big games the last couple of weeks, and yet he's been over 100 yards both times. He
had 675 million yards against them in week 17.
And that too, exactly. Well, but does that work against them? Are they then going to do everything they can? Just say, all right, we don't care who beats us. Tyler Boyd have a day, whatever. Joe Mixon run wild. We don't care. Chase is not beating us. I can see them trying to do that. That doesn't necessarily mean it works. There's actually 20. It was just 105. I would definitely take that over. 125 a lot though in the playoff game, especially. And Kelce,
and I'm a big sucker for longest completion bet. So this one appeals to me. Tyreek Hill, 50 plus yard touchdown reception at plus 450. I like spending the whole game looking for that bomb. And again, you mentioned he had a bad game. I don't see Chidi Awuzie. It's like, there's no way you're going to shake him and get that 50-yard bomb. I like that just because of the action at plus 450.
Yeah, and it wasn't like Awuzie in that game was just locking him down one-on-one every play, and that was it. They just left him on the side of the field by himself with Hill. It was a lot more subtle than that. And Awuzie actually had a pretty bad game against Tennessee. I could see him definitely wanting to bounce back. It was one of his few bad games this season, but he was kind of slipping and sliding all over the place in that game. And the thing about Hill is you can shut him down. You shut him down. He does nothing the whole game. And then like against Buffalo late in the game where he just takes that, kind of 15-yard hitch pattern across the field and turns on the Jets and nobody's catching him. I don't care who you got on their defense. It's so scary to play against. So I would probably take that bet. What are the odds on that one again?
Yeah, plus 500. Was it plus 500? It was just plus 450. But 450. Yeah, for your $10 flyer to just sit there and just wait for a bomb.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. Yeah,
I got one more I gotta bring up because I'm the first quarter over and under guy. Is that the Chiefs rank second, I believe, in first quarter offense. The Bengals ranked 29th in first quarter offense. We've seen repeatedly the Bengals have a hard time getting going. It is Chiefs minus 2.5 in the first quarter, and I am probably going to take that so I get a little action in early before I have to start writing about the game and taking notes. I can place a little wager and play a little bit.
We should remember the first game was 14-0 Kansas City, 21-7 and 28-14. I mean, they were out early and they were doing what they do best, try and put you away. The right turn in that game was Cincinnati actually coming back and making big plays of their own. But it would not be surprising, obviously, to see Kansas City jump out to an early lead. And just wanted to point out, I saw that, and I couldn't believe this was true, but Kansas City is the number one road team in DVOA this year, but 11th in terms of home DVOA. Thought that was a little surprising. Bengals obviously is a road team, not a great split. But Zach Taylor, 13-7 now as a road underdog after last week. So, factor that in. Bengals have played pretty well on the road this year, contrary to their history. and certainly their recent history. So, they've been an unflappable bunch. I think the game on Saturday definitely showed that. If nothing else, they're not going to be intimidated and get down by that 7 or 14-0 to Kansas City and be like, this one's over. Let's pack it in. Certainly a backdoor cover, if nothing else, is very much in play.
So if we go with the line, Bengals +7, I think is your pick. Would that be correct, Rob?
I mean, come on. What am I going to do? We make the AFC Championship game for the first time since 1988. Now I'm going to go ahead and bet against Joseph Lee Burrow? I don't think so. Come on now. Of course I'm taking +7.
I will admit I'm on Chiefs -7 if I had to take. I think -7 is pretty close to what this line should be, but if I had to take a side, I feel like the Chiefs, they're not inevitable the way people talked about them last year. I certainly don't think like they're inevitable in the Super Bowl against whoever wins the NFC, but I do feel like that they're better than the Bengals, and as long as they can avoid the penalties that caused them so many problems in the last game, I feel strong about the Chiefs.
That's exactly it. The Chiefs team I've seen the last couple of weeks, and the Bengals team I've seen the last couple of weeks, frankly, which is like grinding out these wins. I'm taking the Chiefs -7 all the way.
Their red zone offense has been poor. That needs to improve if they have any shot. Obviously, the first thing you always say about Kansas City, right? You play them touchdowns, not field goals. You kick 8 field goals in 2 weeks, not going to get the job done. So if Cincinnati can actually punch a few in, keep it close, then the line is in their favor. But, you take who you think is going to win, regardless of the spread, right? And Kansas City is definitely favored for a reason, as you say. So I'm not taking it personally, but of course I'm going to back my boys +7.
All right, let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers at the LA Rams. Rams -3.5. Although San Francisco has beaten the Rams 6 straight times.
I heard that somewhere.
Even the last game, which was close, by DVOA was not close. San Francisco had an 88% post-game win expectancy in that game, even though it took overtime to decide the winner. Flynn Haggerty asks, will Kyle Shanahan care that the Rams saw his team 3 weeks ago? And should he care? I can't imagine that gives an advantage to any team over the other team because they both saw each other 3 weeks ago.
Right,
so,
right. They both saw each other. It's not like, yeah. I don't get that.
So, I mean, the big thing in this game is the idea, which I think is true. The Rams are built to beat a lot of teams, but not the 49ers. Like the way that the Rams want to play defense, they play with fewer men in the box than any other defense in the league. They want to defend against the big-time pass play, and they're really good at defending against deep passes. And what does San Francisco want to do? They want to run and throw the ball in the short middle of the field. Right. And the Rams are the number 29 against passes in the short middle of the field. They allow an 83% catch rate on passes in the short middle of the field. And the 49ers are like the 4th best team and throws the most passes in that area of the field.
And you saw that. I went back and rewatched the week's 18, I guess it was, game there. And it wasn't so much the short middle. They did have some success there. But it's the small box running against that short box, etc. The 49ers, once they got their wits about them, which took them middle of the second quarter because they were terrible the first couple series. Hello, Vince.
Hey, is that
Hi, everyone. I had it down for next week, so welcome to my world. But hey,
Bengals, we understand.
Please continue.
Well, you're here just in time to talk about the 49ers and the Rams. So,
yes, but just to finish my thought, the 49ers were able to stay so on schedule. So many of their conversions on third down were 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 regularly. But the biggest problem for me, and I'll probably talk about, is that the Rams got to 17 points in that game and stopped. Like, they just stopped. And that's the other thing that I'm looking at in this game. Like, the Rams' ability, we saw it last week as well, to reach a certain point and just wheels fall off everything they're doing is pretty remarkable. And I think it starts with the fact that they don't run the ball Rams do not run the ball very well at all.
No, I don't know if bringing Cam Akers back was the wisest thing. He's kind of sucked as a runner. Like he's had the receptions, right? And he was like deep for that one route where he couldn't catch the ball, but like, wasn't it impressive that he got so deep and everything? But as a running back, he's kind of sucked.
Yeah.
And
they were doing so well with Michelle. It made no sense to force him back into the lineup just because he could. and he obviously wasn't the same back. It made little to no sense. Yeah.
But Michelle was not very good in that 49ers game either. It was very much the old cloud of dust. Michelle.
And you can't really use Michelle as a receiver. That's the other thing, right? That's the big difference with Akers is Akers as a receiver.
Right. It was a lot of 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8 when Michelle was getting the ball on first down, which is what we saw last week, whether it was Akers.
They're plowing Akers in the same situation, and the way their offensive line is built, they should just avoid that entirely and maybe run an entirely different section of the playbook against the 49ers, because what they've been doing in that sense does not work.
And Akers, a lot of Akers' stats came on the trick play too, receiving stats.
When Beckham threw to him.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
so I don't know how much that counts as far as him being a quality receiver. He's been terrible in the last 2 games. The season or the wild card win against Arizona, nobody noticed because Arizona was worse. And last week everyone talked about the fumbles, but he was also averaging about 2 yards a carry. So, it's not gone well with the Akers return.
I'll also point out ESPN had Stafford as the best quarterback against the blitz this year. And the 2 teams that they've played so far, Arizona and Tampa Bay, are very, very high blitz rate teams.
Mm-hmm.
And San Francisco is not.
Right.
As we saw at the end of the game when Tampa blitzed heavy and made to pay for it.
No, I checked his man versus zone numbers. He's way, way better versus man coverage than against zone. Against man coverage, it was something like 18-3 touchdowns and interceptions, and against zone, it was even Steven. Like I think a dozen of each. And if you play zone, you just sit back and wait. He will have one of those brain farts we saw in the last 4 weeks of the year when he just falls down and lobs a pass to a linebacker.
Although, what he did in the 2 games against San Francisco was he lobbed the pass to a safety 40 yards downfield.
Yeah, overthrow. Right.
He had 3 picks against the 49ers, and they were all like 45 yards downfield or something.
There are many ways that Matthew Stafford can embarrass himself. It's true.
42, 49, and 51. I wrote it down because, of course, San Francisco's big weakness is deep passes.
Mm-hmm.
And while San Francisco is really built to beat the Rams offense is a little bit to beat San Francisco in that San Francisco gives up deep passes and the Rams throw a lot of deep passes.
Right.
But in the first 2 games, they had 178 yards on 6 deep passes and 3 picks, but those were like arm punts.
Right.
I don't think we have. Jim Steck-Schulte wants to know if the Stafford man zone splits are broken down by targeted receiver. Unless you can access it through the SIS data hub, Mike, I don't think we have access right now to what effect Cup has on those numbers. The effect that Cup has on those numbers is the effect that Cup has on all the Rams numbers this year, which is he makes them all better. I'm sure that no matter what the split is, Cup makes things better because he had such an amazing year this year.
Right. It'd be too much parsing right now to try and go grab all of that and then interpret it. So I'm going to pass on going into SIS on that. I did check on Darrell Henderson's availability, and there's no word yet whether they might get a quicker running back for the Rams. We're talking about Akers and Michelle playing well, but he's designated to return, but I haven't gotten any practice notes or anything yet.
And then have we gotten an update on my old dear friend Big Whit, Andrew Whitworth, and his availability? Is he still sort of questionable?
I think that they believe he will be back.
They do think that,
The last time I saw Andrew Whitworth, they said that they expect him to play.
Okay, good.
I would expect Whitworth and Trent Williams, because Trent Williams has been healthy now, and I expect Whitworth. I expect them to both play.
Expected to practice this week. And remember, they're probably only practicing today and tomorrow.
Which is good because Noteboom, his backup, is now hurt.
Oh, brother.
So they need to have Whitworth back because otherwise I don't know who the backup to the backup is.
So getting back to the Rams and receivers and interceptions, this is all throws, not just man versus zone.
Okay.
But Cooper Kupp led the team with 5 intercepted targets. So once you get when you're starting with that, trying to split that down into even smaller splits, you tend to just get mostly just noise. But
right, you're gonna get the falling down backwards throw in the direction of Kupp and things like that.
Yeah,
So,
Kupp had 5, Higbee had 3, Beckham had 3. But again, when you split that into even smaller splits than the full season, you're not going to get any meaningful data, I don't think.
One thing I noticed, that game, the Week 18 game, it turned on a 3rd and 1 where the Rams were up 17-0, I believe, driving. It's 3rd and 1. They go empty. And Stafford gets sacked.
Yeah.
Stafford gets sacked. And,
Right.
we don't want to talk about momentum, but, they became discombobulated after that. Obviously, it took a chance to be 20 or 24-0, took it out of the game plan there. And in short yardage situations, 3rd and short, offense, Rams 25th in DVOA, mostly because of the running game. 3rd and short defense, 49ers 3rd. So there's another example of a little marginal advantage that the 49ers probably have in those situations. They're staying on schedule. They're moving down the field. The Rams have to produce in chunk plays because they're not going to be able to negotiate these drives.
Yeah. And Arik Armstead has been a holy terror the last couple of games, and they're going to have to figure out a plan for him for sure in the interior of that line.
Yes.
Right. I mean, we're talking ourselves here into a lot of reasons to believe in the 49ers. I will point out that the Rams defense has been better in recent weeks. The Rams special teams have been really good in recent weeks. Brandon Powell in particular has been really good. Their offense, which had declined in the second half of the year, then bounced back and played really well in the first 2 playoff games. So there's a lot to like about the Rams here. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team. We know about all the talent on that team.
Also, Jimmy Garoppolo.
And also Jimmy Garoppolo maybe playing with an injury.
Yes.
I mean, he is playing with an injury.
Right. Maybe playing
we all keep waiting for the Trey Lance package, and there's no Trey Lance package. It's not happening. Trey Lance package is happening in 2022.
Yes.
I mean, I guess it's technically 2022 now, but next season.
We're bringing up all this positive 49er stuff because the baseline is the Rams are better, more talented, and probably should win playing at home. I think we kind of drifted right into devil's advocate off the top there to say, what are the 49ers advantages here and how can they pull another road win and upset? Would this be 5 wins? They already had 5 wins on the road against playoff teams this year, I think. I mean, they've had extraordinary run, kind of reminiscent of the 2007 Giants a little bit, just to throw that out there. Right. So you don't want to automatically assume anything if you're a Rams fan. And how much will the home field? You remember in that Week 18 game, it was supposedly at SoFi Stadium, but it sure felt like it was being played in the House of Jeans up there at Levi Stadium, and that the Niners had the big takeover. They bum rushed that stadium, and even the aforementioned Andrew Whitworth's wife was out there saying, don't sell your tickets to Niners fans. I'll buy them up for you. And she came back and said, I've been drinking a little. Don't hold me to that. But nevertheless, the point is, it's definitely a 49er home game field the last time, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was near that, certainly to counterbalance any home field edge the Rams may or may not have in that stadium. So, you can definitely talk yourself into ways that the game's going to be close beyond the obvious that Shanahan owned McVay and the matchup advantages that they have. But the Rams are obviously extremely talented and are playing very well. So, from my
Brian
perspective,
points out this would be the 4th road win in 4 weeks.
Yeah, 4 in a row.
Which has not happened since the 1960s.
Right. And they've been traveling all over creation, and they traveled into inclement weather up in Green Bay and things like that. And there's no statistic that can really manage that along the way, but it does. Travel does matter, and traveling into icy weather and then coming into good weather and all those things do matter on the human bodies. And that is a drag on the 49ers.
Yeah, the statistic is it just never happens, right? I mean,
right, because you just don't play 4 road games in a row.
Yeah.
Right.
Just can't win in
I heard this stat earlier. I thought about those 07 Giants because they were a wild card team, and then I remember the Super Bowl is not a road game; it's a neutral site game. So that would disqualify them from this category.
Right. And if you remember that particular Super Bowl, it was about 85% Giants fans in that stadium that night. So whatever that's worth. But, the Rams can play the next 2 games at home, theoretically.
At home, with all of their fans.
It's never happened before that a team played a Super Bowl at home, and now it may happen 2 years in a row.
Wow.
And last year, it doesn't even really count, right? Because the fan, I don't remember the exact
They did have fans for the Super Bowl.
It's fans, but it wasn't 100%, was it?
No, it was like 25%. But you're at home. I think you wake up in your own bed and drive to work and win a championship and go home at night.
Yeah.
How nice is that, right? The way I choose to live my life.
So what do you guys think? If the coming down to the line of well, first of all, Mike, do you have any interesting props on this game you want to share with us before we get
props? Cooper Kupp 100 plus receiving yards and the Rams to score 33 plus at plus 400.
That's
I like it at plus 400.
The Rams will score 33 plus too. That's the part that bugs me.
Well, the plus 400 is what I like. I mean,
I like that.
The Rams, Cooper Kupp had 118 and 122 in the first two games, and the 49ers ranked 31st against number one wide receivers. So I like those Cooper Kupp receiving props.
Yeah. The 33 points is an issue for me.
Right.
How about this? OBJ and George Kittle combine 150 plus receiving yards at plus 175.
That's
the Rams have been pretty good against Kittle.
Kittle hasn't done a ton over the last few weeks either. He's been
blocking. It feels like
but
yeah, I don't like
one of those two teams will win, and the team that wins is a lot less likely to have throwing passes all over the place. So it seems like you're kind of betting against yourself one way or the other there.
Yeah, I would hate to have the Beckham 6 catch for like 50-yard game that he sometimes now has, because he kind of does a possession thing now. And be like, oh, Beckham played well, but I didn't get to this. And then, Kittle winds up with, 80 yards, which both of them have really good games, and you don't win the bet. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't think this game's going to be a shootout. So,
question is there a Beckham passing yards prop?
There might be. I'm not going to hunt it down. I like that idea. This one's fun one, plus 800. Debo to have a rushing and receiving touchdown.
Ooh, I was wondering if there was a Debo.
That's fun.
Plus 800.
800.
I like that for plus 800. That's fun.
Yeah, that's fun experiential betting. You put a couple bucks on it, and you're just rooting for Debo madness.
And honestly, that seems more likely to me than that Beckham and Kittle will both have good games. I think I would take the Debo one there, and again plus 800. So.
What we're doing is we're wishing the Trey Lance package into existence. We all take it, and then suddenly Trey Lance is a goal line player again, so we don't win our bet. But that's kind of fun too, It might be a good trade for
They're holding the Trey Lance package for the Super Bowl, apparently.
That's clearly it. That must be.
You get the sense with Debo, if he catches a touchdown pass, they will do everything in their power to get him to run one too. If they get down to the goal line, he already has a receiving touchdown in his back pocket. They'll hand the ball off to him too to get him both.
That or we're wishing 2 passing touchdowns from Debo into existence by taking this bet because they are not featured in this. So I like a bet where if you lose creatively in a way that would be like, well, I have a story to tell about this.
Yeah. Bad beat up here. I remember it for the rest of my life. Yeah.
So what do you guys think about Rams minus 3.5? Which team are you taking?
That's fine. I would have loved 2.5. I'm taking Rams 3.5. We talked ourselves into the 49ers a little bit here. Reality sets in. They're not beating this team 3 times in a row, not winning a 4th straight game on the road, not beating them 6-7 times in a row.
7 times in a row. Yeah. The
configured. Yeah.
The 49ers are here because Green Bay special teams just completely blew a game that they should have won. And the Rams are here because they've been a better team than their opposition for most of the year. If you look at what happened from week 1 to week, 20? The Rams were the better team more often than not. And I think they're at home and they're better and they'll win. And I will go ahead and lay down 3.5.
I agree with all that, but in the spirit of 1988, we have to do the 49ers. We owe them. We've paid back everybody along the way. It's going to happen again. Cincinnati and
I was going to say, speaking of paid back, the 49ers will have gone through the Cowboys, the Packers, the Rams.
Yeah.
And then if they win this game, they either get the team they lost the Super Bowl to twice,
right?
Or the team they beat in the Super Bowl twice, or the team they lost the Super Bowl to 2 years ago. Like, it's a real nostalgia tour for the 49ers.
And, John Madden,
I am going –
Sorry, I was just going to say John Madden's first game, his first Super Bowl, I should say, 1981, Bengals-Niners remains the highest rated Super Bowl, as they mentioned on the telecast last week. And it's, 40 years after. Just saying, the karma's out there, that's all.
81 DVOA coming this summer. 1981 we're going to do.
It's funny, nobody ever talks about that Super Bowl. They always talk about the catch the week before or the game before.
The Ice Bowl, the Freezer Bowl. The championship games definitely undid it, but it was, obviously it had the 4th down stop and several other factors that were fairly memorable. It kind of petered to a halt. The Bengals looked like they were on a Brady-esque comeback tour down 20-0, and then it kind of got, rerouted all of a sudden. And
I can guarantee you, if the Bengals and 49ers win on Sunday, we will be watching replay of that Super Bowl.
We're talking a lot about it. I
Fair.
will be buried in a position somewhere in the back closet of my house. But yeah.
Kenny Anderson's porn stash.
Very
Stephen
young.
C. said, scrap the whole wins in a row thing. Give me the team that held Dak under 20 and Rodgers to 10 points.
All right.
There's a lot for that.
You're not
I'm
wrong.
going to take 49ers plus 3.5. I really do feel that the 49ers are built to stop the Rams. I don't know if 49ers are built to stop the Rams means they can actually beat them 3 times.
Right.
But I think they keep this one close, and I like the 3.5 points. I would go with 49ers plus 3.5.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the analytic term, the whammy. And, it seems like Shanahan has the whammy over McVay for whatever reason. And,
Is that different from the wham block?
It's much different, indeed. Yes. Oftentimes you get wham blocked, and then you wish
No whammies. No whammies.
No
No
whammies.
whammies.
Special luck.
Yes, the whammy is the little red demon guy who goes across the bottom of the screen.
Exactly.
All right. That does it for the NFL championship games preview. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Mike, for joining me for this show. Thank you, everybody watching. Please remember to subscribe to the show and like the show. We got one question before I say goodbye. Is there any interest in DeMeco Ryans as a head coach for the jobs that are open?
Should be the Houston Texans front runner. Who knows?
I agree with that.
And
if Leftwich can go back to Jacksonville, DeMeco Ryans should be going back to Houston.
I mean, has he done a better or worse job than Robert Saleh? Look at it that way. I mean,
for Ryans, the go to Houston for a year or two, and nothing will get blamed on him in his next job. And in the meantime, they all love him there. The power structure does love him there. It's not a terrible option for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe to the show, like the show, tell your friends about the show, tweet about the show, tell everybody to watch the show. We will be back tomorrow. Well, first of all, today at 2:30, there's a splash play talking about best ball and DFS for these games. Tomorrow, Scott Spratt will be back at 1 p.m. to talk about fantasy for this weekend in DFS. And then I will be back on Monday with Ian O'Connor to wrap up the conference championship games and get us ready to start talking about the Super Bowl. Yeah. All right, folks.
Are we allowed to say Super Bowl? We don't have the rights to it. We only have to say the big name.
Journalistically, yes.
No, because as media people, we can say we're covering the Super Bowl. Yeah. What the thing is that if we give away an award or a gift or something, then we have to call it the big game in the spirit of being advertisers. But in the spirit of being media people who are covering the Super Bowl, we can call it the Super Bowl because that is what we are covering as media people.
Mm-hmm.
These very complicated rules.
All right. That was a great job by you.
Splash play at 2:30 Eastern. Scott Spratt tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. Me and Ian O'Connor Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Like the show. Subscribe to the show. I wish you all a great weekend. Good luck to the Bengals for Rob. Good luck to the 49ers for Brian Knowles. Good luck to the Chiefs and Rams for all of you out there who are Chiefs and Rams fans. We don't happen to have any of them on staff.
Good luck with the bomb cyclone, all of us on the I-95 corridor.
Yeah, no kidding. We're going to be snowed in for these games.
Yeah.
All right. Take care. Have a good weekend, y'all. Bye-bye.